my name's Random Tuesday, and in this video I'm gonna talk you through my Gwen Stacy or Spider-Gwen cosplay from Into the Spiderverse. Now the core of this cosplay is the suit. In fact, the suit is at least 75% of this costume, so once you've got that done, you're pretty much good to go. And the first thing that you have to decide when you're making the suit is what fabric you're gonna use. Now there's a few different ways you can go about this. You could take a sublimation printed suit. In fact, there's ones that you can already get made, but if you're making it from scratch, you can get custom sublimation printed fabric. I decided not to go with that because one of the things that you find with sublimation printing is that they're only printing on that top layer, so on a Lycra, when it stretches, it shows through the white underneath. In fact, you can kind of see that on this portion here. I didn't like that that would kind of dull the overall look of the suit, so I decided instead of doing that or getting like a custom etched pleather fabric, which would be very expensive and kind of complicated to acquire, I went for something that was evocative but not accurate. So I picked a 4-way stretch fabric that has this little dot pattern printed all over it, and they're little clear dots, so all it does is kind of give a little bit of a shine to it and also give that essence of that halftone dot styling that they use in comic books and also throughout the movie Into the Spiderverse. It is evocative without necessarily being exactly what her suit would have been made out of. Regardless of what you go for, make sure that you get a 4-way stretch so you can bend over in your cosplay, and that you also get a nice durable fabric so that when it stretches, it's not gonna show see-through or tear, and when you inevitably make mistakes, you can seam rip that fabric. Now to start with, you're gonna make the body of the suit. I would suggest making it all out of one material, out of all of the black, and then cut that design out. If you have a friend to help you trace the design, that'll make it a lot easier. I do have a pattern for the suit available on my website, including guidelines for where you wanna put all of the patterning. Then I top stitched the black fabric directly to the white fabric. I found that top stitching gave me a nice, really crisp, even edge, and I used a stretch stitch, so it worked out super well. And that would be my recommendation rather than trying to piece the things together, because you have so many sharp turns and angles, especially on the back, you're gonna get a much neater finish if you use top stitching. After that, you're going to finish up the feet and then assemble the sleeves. To size the feet, just literally trace around your foot. That's what I did, or use the pattern that I have available to you. And then for the arms, we just have a basic seam pattern. And I ended up making the gloves connected to the suit. But the important part for me was that I could get my hands in and out of them. So they have this little escape where basically I slip them off over my hand and there's a nice slit in the whole wrist. So the one side of the wrist is a whole piece and the bottom side is a palm piece, and then the rest of the sleeve, and they overlap ever so slightly at the wrist. I also used the top stitching on the diamond sections, just the same way that it's done on the body of the suit. After you get the body the way you like it, you're gonna wanna do the hip sections, which I did first by drawing where I wanted them, cutting the black fabric out, and then top stitching the black fabric over onto the white fabric, same as I did for the rest of the suit. But this way I didn't have to worry about lining up the seams, and I also didn't have to try and make a really precise angle. I could get that angle after I'd done the whole suit. You're also gonna put a collar on the suit. Mine is just a folded over piece of fabric. It goes a little bit down to the shoulder, so it's wider at the base. You want it nice and snug, because that's what it's gonna look like. My suit has a center back zipper, and in order to get the zipper to merge nicely with the fabric, which transitions very dramatically from black to white, I actually painted up to that transition using fabric paint, so that a portion of the zipper is black and a portion of it is white, so it melds in really nicely and looks way less obvious. The zipper, in my case, goes all the way up back through the suit, and the hood I added on later. So the hood actually slips on over my head rather than having a zipper in it. The hood is made out of a lining of the webbing fabric and the white fabric, and I have a little bit of interfacing right around the edge to keep the whole edge of it nice and sturdy and stiff and sticking upright. And the whole thing snaps around the edges to stay in place so that you can't see that it's not technically part of the suit, and is stitched in place just at the front of the suit. Next, you have the shoes, and the shoes I started with a canvas style slip-on, vaguely Tom's-esque. I trimmed it out to look more like that rounded ballet shoe toe, and then I dyed it, because I started with a white shoe, I dyed it using teal and aquamarine RIT dyes in order to give it that kind of nice teal-y sort of color. I got lucky, I found a twill tape in the correct color to match the shoes. You could also dye them to match while you're dyeing the rest of the shoe. The whole thing then ties onto my feet like lovely little ballet slippers. So I have the ribbons sewn directly to the shoes. They cross over the front of the foot, or back around the back of the ankle, and the front of the ankle, then to the back of the ankle. There I tie a knot, keep it loose so you can get it undone pretty easily, and tuck the ends out of the way so that they are nice and hidden, just like a ballerina does. For the mask, I started with a face shell underneath, which was made out of EVA foam and a little bit of felt because I was really bad at getting smooth seams. I have a link to the pattern that I used to create this face shell over on my website. And the whole thing just sits over your face and will help smooth out your ears and your nose so that when your mouth is moving, the mask doesn't make a weird shape. The mask itself is then just built out of the same stretch lycra that the rest of the suit is made out of, and some stretch mesh for the eyes. I ended up with 2 layers of it. That was a good balance between I could still see out of it and people couldn't see my eyes. And the lenses are glued directly, or the sort of outlines are glued directly to the mask using E6000 and are made out of EVA foam that I just sort of shaped and beveled the edges of. The face shell, I start by putting it in, and then I slip the whole thing on over my face and it zips up the back. I do recommend wearing a wig cap with it. That will help overall not catching your hair when you zip it up. And also, you probably don't want any makeup on because you're gonna get super sweaty in there. For the wig, I started with my own short side of my hair, which is conveniently already kind of a browny red sort of color. And I took all of the longer bits of my hair and I just pinned them up so they're out of the way. The actual blonde portion of the hair was made out of a deconstructed wig that I found that had a kind of the right sort of curl and this fade from kind of reddish brown into the blonde, although this one's maybe a little bit more platinum. I then essentially removed a good portion of about half of the wig and pretty much only kept the wefts on one side. So the whole thing kind of just like flops on my head. I start by putting just a square of toupee tape or wig tape, and then I line up this with the actual hairline on my head, and that keeps the front of it down. And then I tuck these little wig clips in, snap them down. And that keeps this side in place. And then I pin the other side down. And then I add a couple of extra bobby pins on the short side as well. Kind of help keep it all together. Sort of rough it out. And there you go. Thank you so much for watching my Gwen Stacy from Into the Spiderverse Spider-Gwen cosplay. I hope you found this video helpful. There are more resources, information, and tutorials, including a pattern for how to make this suit, available over on my website, randomtuesday.com. That website also has links to a whole bunch of other cosplays and cosplay resources, so definitely check it out. You can also watch me live on twitch.tv/randomtuesday, where I'm always happy to answer questions and I work on the creation of many a cosplay. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more updates and notifications on when I have more videos out. And lastly, but never leastly, thank you to each and every one of my patrons over on Patreon who made this cosplay and this video and many other resources a reality. If you would like to help me make more content, please consider a small monthly amount over on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching.